Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Vee-tality, and I'm here to do the last part of the three-part series of my first time home buying experience. And so it's been a long time coming, it's been crazy. I might explain it on my mukbang channel, what's been going on, but I have committed to be more consistent this week and this month from now on, since I feel like life has kind of settled down. And so like I said in this video, I just wanted to kind of wrap things up, some questions I've been getting after going through the process, and some things that I may have left out in the previous one. So a fellow YouTube friend has asked me a couple of questions and I addressed them kind of throughout my video, but one important question that they asked is what is the process if you're going in with a partner, so partner meaning you're not married yet, and if you guys are going into the household, what did that look like? And so you have multiple options from what I have learned through the process of, I think they call it a co-ownership, right? So you guys are both on the loan, so you're both responsible for the loan. But if anything goes astray, everything's split down 50-50, and that's kind of how you protect yourself if you're not married, right? So that's very clear cut and simple. They don't care who pays what, how this person paid this much for the down payment. Like, it's clear cut, 50-50 down the middle. And an interesting question was, did I have to cut anybody off in this process, right? I was like, I think when you go through different journeys of life, you realize that some things, some people, some events may not be healthy for your progress, right? So you kind of have to let those things go. In terms of people, no, because I think I'm at that age where I have surrounded myself around folks who want to see me thrive, who have always continued to encourage me. I think one person I did have to let go was the negative, for the lack of a better name, negative Nancy in my own head. That's who I had to let go. Like I've expressed in my previous videos of, it was a process that I've been wanting to start for the past 2 years, and I haven't had the courage to do it. And I think it's a lot of your own self-talk of like, it's not gonna happen, like how can you afford that, aren't you worried? And I think for me, a lot of, again, particularly to my experience in the Polynesian community, I've heard a lot of like foreclosure, they lost the home, or after years of paying the mortgage, they lost the home because of refinancing. So that was my biggest fear, of not getting into the home but maintaining the home. And I think that's what really was a little thought in my head. Again, because in my nuclear family, like my parents, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister, so there's 5 of us who are considered nuclear, and I am the first person in my family to own a home. And so again, I think it's like that first gen experience where you're nervous. There's no one really who you feel like you can trust to navigate you through that process. And again, it just seems so unattainable at the moment. And so I had to get rid of that voice in my head. So I think you really just have to check yourself. It's not worried about what everybody else is saying. Definitely check yourself. And I am a true believer in a positive affirmations. I am trying to focus on like manifestation. And so I really started honing in on myself and trying to believe in myself in this process that it will happen. But yeah, my biggest worry was maintaining the home. And so I actually didn't want to celebrate, and I think I mentioned this before, I didn't want to celebrate until like I have my first mortgage payment, and not even at that, like my first solid 6 months of mortgage payments. And after the first one, I was like, okay, it's not that bad. I don't have to live off of ramen, and we can still do things and all that. And it has also, because I'm more budgeted than before, it has also made me more motivated in terms of my other side gigs that I want to do other than my normal 9 to 5, right? Something that I'm passionate about, something that also may, generate funds, to be real. And it has made me restrict in terms of my spending, of like, oh, do I actually need that? Do I actually want that? So being more mindful. So it's actually helped my budget in a lot of ways. Although I have been kind of going crazy on plants because I just feel like this is home, but I don't have any pictures up yet. Like, there's not much decor. I focused on the couch and, you know, other things in the house. And so now I love plants, and I can actually keep them alive now. So that's been my focus of practicing my, what do they call it? Like the green thumbs. The girls were able to pick out some plants, and I think plants are they help purify, you know, if there's some air purifying plants. I think it's a mood booster for me. I think they're just really cute decor. And to my surprise, plants aren't that cheap. And I'm not a big fan of fake plants because I want that, like, I want to take care of them. I want to have the health benefits of having plants and flowers in the home, and they look beautiful. And that's kind of a decor that will never go out of style. And so that is the one biggest worry of just, like, you know, past experiences. And I actually got some great news last night, which a cousin of mine officially, they got their house offer accepted. And so it was really cool because I really love seeing, like, my Polynesian people thrive, especially I love seeing everybody thrive. And if you can obtain your goal, that's awesome, right? And, like, having folks come to me, be like, oh, this was inspirational, or having folks come to me for little bits of advice, like, that was, like, the amazing part that I really wanted to get out the video. I might not have, like, hundreds of people watching it, but the few people who I know who reach out, like, that is great. And, you know, asking questions and really seeing them from, you know, talking about it, and then when they post it on Facebook or something, and seeing the success, like, that is awesome. And another question that I was asked in terms of, did I do it quietly? So yes, I did it very quietly. The only person who really knew about me going through the process was my sister, because we were living together at the time. And my parents had an idea that we were looking for a home, and I was like, hey, I want to, that was my cat. She just got scared by a scrunchie on the floor. My parents had an idea. I let them know we were looking at houses. We're hoping to move sometime in the summer, and that's kind of like where I kept it at. But my sister was the one who, like, knew about the phone calls, who knew about every single step of the journey. I didn't even tell my best friend until it was closed, because it's always that fear that like, buying a house or buying any property is such a big deal. And I didn't realize that until after I started telling folks that it finally happened. Because to me, I was like, these are steps in life. These are the processes that you go through, right? But acknowledging that was from a privileged mindset. And so I was like, okay, we finally have a home. And so when we were telling folks about it, and then people are like, dang, that's crazy. Like, you're 26, like, that's such a big accomplishment. And especially during COVID, and, you know, so blessed and so grateful, because it is a beautiful place. And our neighbors are beautiful. They keep, HOA handles landscaping, everything stays beautiful. And it was then I realized, like, wow, this is, like, a really big accomplishment. And I think my fear shadowed so much of being able to celebrate this accomplishment, because I'm pessimistic or realistic. I'm like, nah, let me pay off the mortgage, then you can congratulate me, or let me pay off the whole title, and then you can congratulate me. And people are like, well, now you own a home. I'm like, technically the bank owns it and I pay the bank. But again, I myself had to realize that it was celebrating the small accomplishment. So I did keep it very quiet, and I did officially announce it on social media a little bit after we closed, and so it was really exciting. But yeah, my best friend didn't know until we actually closed on the home, and she was like, what? Like, you never told me. And I was just like, I was just nervous about the whole process. I didn't know if it was going to go through. And so yeah. And some other questions in terms of, like, insurances. So we didn't have the 20% down payment, and so we have to have mortgage insurance, and the bank and the lender, the bank, the mortgage company you then have to show proof of, what is that called? Homeowner's insurance. And I'm trying to think of anything else on top of that. I don't have any other insurance, because the homeowner's insurance, it helps depending on the different packages you get. Like, it helps with any outside fixing, any indoor, like if there's flooding or anything, right? If your home gets broken into and you want to get reimbursed for any property that was stolen. So that's kind of all encompassed in the home insurance. Fire is also part of it. It is not, earthquake is not a part of it. And so earthquake insurance is not something that I have honestly looked into that much into this process, although we do live in California, earthquakes do happen. And so I do need to look into that and get some advice on folks. But I know from what I've heard, earthquake insurance is quite pricey. And actually, rewind a little bit back. So I used to work in the insurance industry. I used to work for bodily injury claims, and I did that for about a year and a half, and it is a tasking job. But back to why I bring that up is because, especially if you have any type of insurance, especially if you're doing the homeowners and you have a lot of valuables in your home, you want to take a picture of the current conditions in your valuables. So maybe every month or so, or every 2 months, or every quarter, every 4 months, you take a picture of the current state of your valuable to show that you have it. And you know, the iPhone can usually, if you look at the details, it'll tell you the date that it was taken. You want to keep any receipts, so definitely keep the emailed receipts. Take a picture of the physical receipt if that's what you get, so that way it's always stored in the phone. And the reason why I say this, working in the insurance industry, is if you cannot prove its current value or if it was in your current possession, you are going to do a lot of convincing and a lot of back and forth with the insurance company for them to pay it out, especially if it's a higher price item. They're not going to just take your word from it. Guarantee it. All right, so quote me on that. And so if you have any collectibles, if you have any, like, even if you have a shoe collection, like I have a dead stock of shoes, so dead stocks of they've never been worn, and so I have those shoes. I keep the receipt. I need to take photos of them, so I need to take inventory of like the higher price items that we have. So if you want something to definitely be reimbursed or reimbursed, you gotta have proof of it. And also, expectations are, there is depreciation to it, right? So whatever is the market value at the time of that item that you're asking for reimbursement, that is probably what they're going to give you. So these are just like little technicalities of working in the insurance industry, right? Because insurance is not to elevate your life, it is to get you back at the same stage that you were. So it's to return you. So say somebody stole my TV, right? And my TV is 2 years old. They're not gonna give me the $500 that I originally paid for the TV. They're getting me back to where I was. So if I was to buy that and it's 2 years old, maybe it's $250 now. That is probably what they're gonna reimburse you. And I think I saw these mistakes a lot in the insurance industry. They're like, oh, you're gonna give me everything. It's like, no, we're gonna give you something comparable or the same value as that. So if you have a lot of valuables and jewelry, you wanna do that. You wanna make sure to do that. Another thing in terms of this home buying process, and I love my mortgage company, they actually warned me of a lot of fraud, right? You know, people stealing mail and all that, and especially if they know that the home, like people use this as a career, right? To me, I was like, who has the time? But I'm like, of course, if you're making a career off of these scams, then you're good at it. No shade, just saying. And so she said you might be receiving a lot of paperwork in the mail, and it might look legitimate, but always call us, especially if it's asking you for money. And they've said that they've had a woman pay this company in Los Angeles to get a physical copy of the deed, and it had the mortgage insurance that we had, it had their logo and everything, but the paper wasn't legit because it's asked her to send the funds to Los Angeles or something. This woman paid $80, never got the deed paper. A couple of months passed, she calls the mortgage insurance, she was like, this is one of the fraud things that we are talking about. And $80 doesn't seem a lot, but imagine how many people fall into this trap they're making money off of this. And they're like, yeah, you might get a lot of calls about different insurance. Like I just recently just checked my mail, and I think it's ADP, I forget which one, but the security alarm, they sent us information, and then we get a lot of like, if you want to protect your home and keep in mind your insurance doesn't protect this, send us this back with all of your information. So you want to be very mindful of that, of not, your information is out there. The county has records of, you know, home ownership and all that, and people may have access to these items, may be hacking these items. So if you have any questions, always contact your mortgage insurance, your bank, and ask them for verification that this is real. And don't call the number on the paper, call the number on the website or the number that you've been emailing the company on. And so we have been getting a lot of those, and it's a lot of sifting of like, this is real, this is fake, we need to follow up on this. It's a lot of packets and paperwork that we're dealing with still, and finding time this month to go through all of that. And the greatest question I was asked, and I love this question, was, will I buy my parents a home? So yes, that is the hope. That's honestly why I've been going through this process, and why I think I've always been a little mature for my age, and I think it's just because of life experiences. But in reality, so my parents have they immigrated to America, right? And they work the 9 to 5, not really have a secure 401k and all that. And then also my brother, who is my sister's twin, he is my older brother. He has cerebral palsy, and so he cannot walk on his own. He cannot talk. He uses a Dynavox. It's basically an iPad that speaks out for him. It's a program, and he cannot do a lot of daily functions by himself. He can do it with assistance, so he can like feed himself, but obviously he can't make his own food and all that. So with that being said, I think in our Tongan culture, right, you take on that responsibility once my parents can't take it on. So my parents are getting, they're still fairly young in my eyes, but they are getting older in age and in movement and all that. And so I wanted to make sure that when that transition happens with my brother, or when my parents need to move in with us for financial, health reasons, whatever it may be, that we were ready to take that on. And so I was like, I really want to buy a home. At this time, I want to be done having kids by 30, so that way I can still live and achieve my goals, but also when I need to take care of my brother, my life has been settled for a little bit, and then adjusting to that, or when my parents need a place to stay. So buying a home is the ideal thing. Now, I'm not rich yet, so I'm gonna try to put in manifestation of generational wealth. And my thought was, buy the condo, build equity, use that equity to buy a bigger home. And I'm hoping the bigger home can be a 2-story, or it can be another home with a large in-law unit in the back or in the front, whatever it may look like. So that way, in maybe 10 years, when my parents most likely will have to change their lifestyle of living so independently, that I'm ready for that, right? Like that they have their own space to call home, and then I also have my own space to call home. So because those are big life adjustments for folks, right? Because I stopped living with my parents since the age of 17, moved to college, haven't moved back since. Maybe I stayed for one summer no, I've never stayed at home for a summer. I've always been working. That's crazy. Anyways, so I haven't lived with them 17, right? And so thinking at the age of maybe 40 or something, when I'm 40, they have to move in. That's a big adjustment for them, of having to depend on other folks, and a big adjustment for me of, right, some freedoms may be lost, right, because you want to be considerate of people. And of course I'm going to take care of my parents. They have made me to the person I am today, and they have sacrificed so much. And I'm hoping to share their story, because I think it's amazing to share your elder story and to see where folks come from, and you can then see an insight to like how they are the way they are, and whether it's good or bad. If I do have enough money to have my own home and then have my parents be able to have their own space, of course I would. Because I think it's hard for the elderly to adjust to changing their lifestyle, right? And adjust to living under somebody else's roof, or adjust to anything really. And so, yes, one way or another, we will be prepared for when the event happens. And another thing that I also have thought about is my own life insurance, right? Just because I die doesn't mean nobody has to pay this mortgage. And so somebody has to pay a mortgage, right? If I pass before the mortgage is paid off. So I have made sure that my life insurance, or the different policies that I do have for life insurance, is enough to cover the home expenses for my children, and then they still have a good pocket of money to live off for the time being. And they also have very great godparents who I know will help them if I pass while they're under the age of 18. And so that's also one insurance that I just made sure to have, so that if I pass, like, the home just doesn't go in foreclosure or folks can't pay it, that there is some type of money there. Again, still saving, and just trying to do side gigs. And that is kind of why I started these YouTube channels, was as a point of inspiration, as a point to connect with other folks, a point to connect with other Polynesian folks, the community that I come from. And so, yes, those are all of the questions that I have been asked. I appreciate y'all for watching this 3-part series. And if you're starting the home buying process, I send you many blessings, so much love, and so much confidence and courage to go through that process. And this is Mama V signing out of Vee-tality. Bye, y'all.